see your screen. Yes, Shloka, please speak. You're not audible. You're on mute.
Ma'am, actually, I forgot to unmute myself. So, ma'am, did I not? I wasn't
Again,
audible or what?
yes, yes. Again, please start.
Yes, ma'am, I'll start again. So, welcome to this project. So, through this project, we will explore about the commercial use of microorganisms, and in the end, we are going to take a tour around the world to some of the major wineries in the world. So what is commercial use? Commercial use basically is the use of any product for marketing, promoting or selling that incorporates a financial gain. And microorganisms have been used for commercial use since ancient times. So the principal roles they play in the industry are: they aid in the process of production of alcoholic beverages such as wine, beer, etc. They aid in the process of production of acetic acid, that is vinegar, aid in the process of fermentation, and they are widely used in the baking industry for baking cakes, pastries, etc. So now, Louis Pasteur is an important person in the commercial use of microorganisms field. So he was a French biologist and a chemist. He discovered the process of fermentation and was the first to demonstrate experimentally that fermented beverages result from the action of living yeast transforming glucose into ethanol. He had made some of the greatest breakthroughs in modern medicine at that time, including pasteurization and vaccines for anthrax and rabies. This, what you see here, is the Pasteur Institute. So the Pasteur Institute is a French non-profit private foundation dedicated to the study of biology, microorganisms, diseases, and vaccines. Of course, it is named after Louis Pasteur, who was the founder of this institute. This is Louis Pasteur, and this is the Pasteur Institute. Moving on, so alcoholic production. So alcoholic fermentation is a biological process which basically converts sugars such as glucose, fructose, and sucrose into cellular energy, producing ethanol and carbon dioxide as byproducts. So because yeasts perform this conversion in the absence of oxygen, alcoholic fermentation is considered as an anaerobic process. Humans have been producing alcoholic beverages for thousands of years. The production of alcohol in these drinks is based primarily on yeast fermentation. Yeasts are eukaryotic organisms that ferment variety of sugars from different sources into the final products of carbon dioxide and alcohol. So we'll take an insight into how wine and beer are actually produced and the overall process. So wine making or vinification is the production of wine, starting with the selection of the fruit, its fermentation into alcohol, and the final bottling of the finished liquid. Yeasts are the main fermenter and alcohol producer in the production of wine, beer, and other alcoholic drinks. The main yeast species used is Saccharomyces cerevisiae. I'm not sure how it is pronounced, but yeah. So it ferments the sugars coming from different sources. For example, grapes for wine, barley for beer, to improve yeast growth, additional nutrients like diammonium phosphate are sometimes added in the fermentation step. Beer is the most consumed alcoholic beverage in the world. It is made most often of malted barley and malted wheat. Sometimes a mixture of starch sources can be used, such as rice. Unmalted maize can be added to the barley or wheat to lower cost. Potatoes, millet, and other foods high in starch are used in different places in the world as the primary carbohydrate source. The process of making beer is called brewing. It includes breaking the starch in the grains into a sugary liquid called wort and fermenting the sugars in the wort into alcohol and carbon dioxide by yeasts. Two main species are used in the fermentation process. Saccharomyces cerevisiae, top fermenting since it forms foam on top of the wort, and Saccharomyces euverum, bottom fermenting. So now that we know about the basic roles microorganisms play and how the process is, let's take a trip to all the major wineries across the globe. And these wines that are produced are usually expensive as they have great demand and come in grand packaging, which entice people to buy these, and thus wine producing companies have a huge commercial business in the present times. So the first winery that we are going to see is the Lavox Weinaroma Winery, which is in Switzerland. So Lavox is a region in the canton of Vaud in Switzerland, in the district of Lavox-Oron. Lavox consists of 830 hectares of terraced vineyards that stretch for about 30 kilometers along the south-facing northern shores of Lake Léman. The Lavox region was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2007, and that's the specialty of this place. The Lavox Winery presents more than 300 wineries from all over the region. Its numerous chasselas, the characteristic varietal of the zone, its elegant and powerful reds, its specialty whites, its desserts wine. The next winery that we are going to see is the Leeuwin Estate Winery, which is located in Australia. So the Western Australia's Margaret River is one of the Southern Hemisphere's most renowned and productive winemaking regions. Leeuwin Estates is one of the founding wineries of the region. With a cool climate vineyard, the wine produced here is globally recognized. It is also home to a restaurant. It hosts concerts from national and international musicians. It even has an art gallery, a golf course, and beautiful surroundings. So here in the picture, you can see the Leeuwin Estate Winery. This is their surroundings, and this is their wine bottle, which has the Leeuwin Estate trademark on it. Then the next one is Bodega Zuccardi Valle de Uco Winery, which is in Argentina. So the Bodega Zuccardi Valle de Uco Winery in Argentina received first place very recently on 30th July 2020 as the best wine producing winery. The construction of this winery began in 2013 and it was inaugurated in 2016. As you can see, the architecture of the winery is not very commonly seen, and the building is a tribute to the mountains which define the region's climate and soils. The construction was done with natural materials, stones from the land, round, white and chalky. The building is made with cement from the outside in, from the stone walls to the epoxy-free cement tanks where the wines are made. The tanks and vessels are the result of years of experimentation in the pursuit of the ideal vessel, resulting in the tapered neck, the element that makes it possible to work more naturally with the grape juices and wines. So this is the Bodega Zuccardi Valle de Uco Winery, and this is their common wine bottle, which you can see. The next winery that we are going to see is the Chateau Montelena Winery, which is in California. This is regarded as a must for wine lovers seeking excellence because the setting is one of the most beautiful and peaceful in the Napa Valley. A stone castle. It is a stone castle carved into a hillside, overlooking a Chinese garden and a lake, and vineyards reaching out to the base of Mount St. Helena. Chateau Montelena is a Napa Valley winery most famous for winning the white wine section of the historic Judgment of Paris wine competition. Chateau Montelena Winery was originally called A.L. Tubbs Winery. So you can see this is A.L. Tubbs, and he after this was this winery was called A.L. Tubbs Winery after its founder Alfred Tubbs, constructed in 1888. In 19th century Napa Valley, the majority of the wineries were constructed of wood, but instead the chateau is made of stone with walls 3 to 12 feet thick, which provides natural insulation against outside heat or cold. Similarly, the structure is built into a hillside to further regulate temperature, something necessary for producing quality wines but uncommon at the time. Since late 2011, Chateau Montelena has set up a satellite tasting room within the Westin St. Francis in Union Square, San Francisco. One of the few remaining bottles of ex-cellar 1973 Chateau Montelena Chardonnay has been sold by Spectrum Wine Auctions for $11,325. Alongside is a view of the entrance to the winery. So this is the beautiful entrance to the winery, and if you go inside you can see this stone this building which was of which the structure was really uncommon at the time it was built. So the next winery we are going to see is the Holden Man's Wine Estate, which is in South Africa. It is located in the top southernmost corner of the Franschhoek Valley in the embrace of its spectacular mountains. The 22-hectare Holden Man's Wine Estate is situated between the Franschhoek River and Stony Brook at 300 meters above sea level. So they have a exclusive grower of red grapes, and the estate only cultivates some part of the hectares under vineyards. These are some of their well-known vineyards, and this is basically how they produce their fine wines. The long, cold, wet winters are perfect climate for it and everything. So they have a tasting venue, and they have beautiful art design which enables their winemaker to fully express the terroir and its fruits in every possible way. So with average production, they have an average production at 100 tons of manually harvested high quality grapes. An intimate approach with emphasis on attention to detail is maintained throughout. Then they have smaller tanks allowed for separate small batch fermentations, while an open plan barrel cellar provides the winemaker the access to tend to each barrel individually. Now the next point, it just explains how sustainable development has come into practice recently. So they have recently added a 65 kW of solar panels which has significantly reduced their energy consumption, which is of course a big step in the ongoing commitment to sustainable production practices. So this is 1 second. So this is the Holden Man's Wine Estate, and you can see here they have huge plantations. So the next winery that we are going to see, you must have heard it because.
Please summarize.
Yes, ma'am.
20 minutes have gone.
Yes, ma'am.
We decided that 7 minutes will be giving.
Yes, ma'am. I'll just quickly summarize.
So
this
solar time constraint here.
yes, ma'am. It's okay. I'll just summarize. So this is the Sula Vineyards. It's in India, and the Rajiv Samant was the main person behind it. And the Sula wineries have been, the name has originated from Rajiv Samant's mother's name, which is Sulabha. And over the last 16 years, Sula has established itself as a pioneer and leader in the Indian wine industry with milestones across its winemaking. And Sula has made a mark in the Indian wine industry by capturing 65% of the wine market and establishing itself as a pioneer. So it is quite a famous winery all over the world. So the next we are going to see is the Wuksongdoga winery, which is in South Korea. So the winery is a premium, but it's a small winery which brew Makgeolli. So Makgeolli is a specifically Korean alcoholic beverage. The milky off-white and slightly sparkling rice wine has a slight viscosity that tastes slightly sweet, tangy, bitter, and astringent. Makgeolli is made from rice using nuruk, a Korean fermentation starter. Nuruk is a dry cereal cake that has been allowed to ferment and mature to promote the growth of molds, producing enzymes that decompose the starches of the cereal grain into sugar. This sugar is then used by yeast to produce alcohol through fermentation. So this is the main role microorganisms play in preparing this Makgeolli. And this Makgeolli is served in a plastic bottle or a bowl with a wooden ladle poured in an aluminum kettle. It is always served cold, and yeah, so it's quite unique, and it looks something like this, as you can see in the. And this is the Wuksongdoga winery, which is in South Korea. So then, I'm gonna tell one fact about wine. So you might have known about toasting. So toasting started in ancient Rome when the Romans sustained the Greek tradition. They would drop a piece of toasted bread into the wine glass to soften unsavory taste. Fact that I'm going to tell you is about Germany and wine. So the world's oldest bottle of wine was found near the town of Speyer, Germany. It dates before to AD 325 and is on display at the town's historical museum. So this is some two of the videos you can watch from on YouTube. You'll find them which review all the microorganisms roles they play in the commercial industry, and this video is how about the whole process goes to make a bottle of wine. So you can see those on YouTube. And yeah, thank you. Hope you had a good time traveling online. Thank you very much. Ma'am, thank
you so much, Shweta. Excellent presentation, though because the time is also less. So, but then excellent presentation and a very unique presentation. And I really felt like, and I hope others also were feeling like to visit all these places. Thank you so much for taking us for this virtual tour.
Thank you, ma'am.
Gargi, are you able to open now?
No, ma'am. Actually, there's some problem. You can share the screen and maybe I will explain.
Okay, I'll share.
Or ma'am, shall I present my project?
Who is this?
Ma'am Arya.
Okay. Just wait. Let Gargi. Who has sent me the project first? Gargi or Arya?
Ma'am, me. Arya.
So okay. So Arya, you present it first then.
Oh yes, ma'am.
Because I think in my mail I received your presentation first.
Oh yes, ma'am.
Okay, Gargi, is it fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm Dimple here. Ma'am, my project is quite big, so I don't think I will be able to present it. Ma'am, is my screen visible?
No. I
Yes.
think because she has. Shloka, can you just stop sharing?
Yes, ma'am.
Please stop sharing.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I have stopped sharing right now.
Thank you.
So I think it's not visible.
Yes, Arya, please share.
Ma'am, I have shared it.
I can't see.
Ma'am, now.
No.
And it is not visible. And now it is
Yes.
visible.
It is visible now.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, ma'am, 1 minute.
Ma'am, this is Shaunak. I just wanted to ask whether you received my project.
Yes. Yes. I received your project yesterday. Very nice project you have made.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Yes.
project.
Yes. Please click on it and present it.
Yes, ma'am, I'm doing that only. It's not opening.
No, you have. You click on that
Yes,
once.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It's.
Yes. Now there is a present button.
Yes, ma'am. So, welcome. Epidemics have ravaged humanity throughout its existence, often changing the course of history. So, today, as the world is battling the coronavirus, I'd like to take you on a tour back in time. So, fasten your seatbelts and let us go on this trip, which will make you aware of all the past epidemics that shook the world. So, the first pandemic, also known as the Black Death, uh, it was the greatest catastrophe ever. It also known as the pestilence, the great mortality, or the plague. It occurred in 1347 and it was there for 4 years. It resulted in the deaths of 75 to 200 million people in Eurasia and North Africa, peaking in Europe from 1347 to 1351. Plague, the disease caused by the bacterium Yersinia pestis, was the cause. So it was said that the transmission of Black Death occurred through fleas, and that which used to feed on infected animals, mostly wild rodents. This infection still occurs, but it can be treated with antibiotics. It caused the death of 60% of the population of Europe, and therefore it's said to be one of the deadliest pandemics ever. But however, this pandemic led to the invention of quarantine. Plague is classified as category A pathogen. This classification has helped stoke fears that Y. pestis, the bacteria which caused Black Death, could be used as a biological weapon. And recently in the news, we were seeing that China might as well use the coronavirus as a biological weapon. So you can see in the picture how bodies were piled up, and that's why it was really deadly. So the next pandemic is the smallpox or the Spanish influenza. Kansas City in USA was the first case where the Spanish influenza was reported. It occurred in 1918. It was also a really deadly pandemic. It infected an estimated 500 million people worldwide, about one third of people of the planet's population. The 1918 flu was first observed in Kansas, later on in Europe, United States, and parts of Asia before swiftly spreading around the world. And at that time, there were no effective drugs or vaccines to treat this killer flu strain. So the symptoms were quite mild during the first wave. However, a second highly contagious wave of influenza appeared in the same year. Victims died within hours or days of developing symptoms, their skin turning blue and their lungs filling with fluid that caused them to suffocate. And in just 1 year, in the 1918, the average life expectancy in America plummeted by a dozen years. However, it's been said that the Spanish flu did not originate in Spain, but the news coverage of it did. Now, why is the influenza known as Spanish flu, even though it did not originate in Spain? So during World War One, Spain was a neutral country with a free media that covered the outbreak from the start, first reporting on it in Madrid in late May of 1918. Because Spanish news sources were the only ones reporting on the flu, many believed it originated there. So, as I told you, the first known case was reported at Camp Funston in Fort Riley, Kansas on March 11, 1918. Many of them believed that infected soldiers spread the disease to the other military camps across the country, then brought it overseas. And at that time, World War One was going on. Finally, the pandemic came to an end by the summer of 1919. Many of them died, but the remaining ones they had developed immunity. Now, after 90 years later, recently in 2008, researchers announced that they discovered what made the flu so deadly. So, they found out that a group of three genes enabled the virus to weaken a victim's bronchial tubes and lungs and clear the way for bacterial pneumonia. So you can see this is the hospital where there were so many patients and there were no beds and all. The government tried to spread awareness of the Spanish influenza through posters, magazines, etc. Yeah. So now the third pandemic was the smallpox, which believed to be originated in Egypt. Smallpox was endemic to Europe, Asia, and Arabia for centuries. A persistent menace that killed 3 out of 10 people infected. So you can see how bad it was, and left the rest with pockmarked scars. Now, this led to the invention of the first vaccine in the world, which was an outstanding feat. So, as we had learned in chapter 2, that the vaccine for smallpox was developed by Edward Jenner, a British doctor. He discovered that milkmaids infected with a milder virus called cowpox seemed immune to smallpox. Jenner famously inoculated his gardener's 9-year-old son with cowpox and then exposed him to the smallpox virus with no ill effect. And so he came to realize that okay, so now we finally have found a vaccine to this smallpox. So he said that the annihilation of the smallpox, the most dreadful scourge of the human species, must be the final result of this practice. He wrote in 1801. And he was right. It took nearly 2 more centuries, but in 1980, the World Health Organization, or the WHO, announced that smallpox had been completely eradicated from the earth, sorry. So you can see this is Edward Jenner in the image. And you can see that the milkmaids and that they were not being affected by the smallpox. So now the fourth pandemic, cholera. It was a victory for public health research, and Ganges Delta in India was thought to be the origin of cholera. It killed tens of thousands people and it was also really bad. So cholera is an infection of the small intestine by some strains of the bacterium Vibrio cholerae. Symptoms may range from none to mild to severe. So the symptoms are like diarrhea, vomiting, muscle cramps, severe dehydration, electrolyte imbalance, resulting in sunken eyes, cold skin, decreased skin elasticity, and wrinkling of the hands and feet. Cholera is caused by a number of types of Vibrio cholerae, with some types producing more severe diseases than the others. It is spread mostly by unsafe water and unsafe food that has been contaminated with human feces containing the bacteria. So, the prevention methods against cholera are improved sanitation and access to clean water. So, cholera vaccines are available. They are given by mouth. And they provide reasonable protection for about 6 months. The prevailing scientific theory said that the disease was spread by foul air known as miasma, but a British doctor named John Snow suspected that the mysterious disease, which killed its victims within days of the first symptoms, lurked in London's drinking water. So we actually don't know really from where it has originated, but they say that it has originated through Ganges. So you can see a doctor is providing vaccine to a small baby and bodies were piled up. There was no there was no space left for them to cremate and all. So let's go to the next pandemic, which is really which you're quite familiar with, the coronavirus, which the world is battling right now. So all of you know that the coronavirus emerged from Wuhan, China. It is caused by severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2. The WHO declared the outbreak a public health emergency of international concern on 30th January 2020 and a pandemic on 11th March. As of 30 July 2020, more than 17 million cases of COVID 19 have been reported. So now it's August, God knows how many more cases have been reported. So the virus is primarily spread between people during close contact. Common symptoms are fever, cough, fatigue, shortness of breath, and loss of sense and smell. Complications may include pneumonia and acute respiratory distress symptoms. Authorities worldwide have responded by implementing travel restrictions, lockdown, workplace hazard controls, and facility closures. I'm not reading out all the points because all of you are quite familiar with them. This pandemic has caused global social and economic disruption, including the largest global recession since the Great Depression and global famines affecting 265 million people. So basically, this is the conclusion what I have learned from this project. So pandemics have ravaged humanity throughout its existence, often changing the course of history. This is very true. History repeats itself. Now, just like COVID 19, there was no vaccine ready for the communicable pandemics of the past until there were huge losses of lives. It was lockdown and hygienic sanitary practices that prevented any more further losses of lives. So, we know that there is always a chance for us to avoid the birth of any further pandemics by practicing good hygiene because precaution is always better than cure. So, I have included some fun facts and tidbits on these epidemics. So, this is the part one. So, the 1918 pandemic was commonly known as the Spanish flu, but it did not start in Spain. The Spanish took the rap because of their king, Alfonso XIII, got sick, and because the nation was neutral in World War I and allowed an uncensored press to report on the flu. We have discussed this before. Mary Mallon was an Irish immigrant in New York City in the early 1900s. She was, by all accounts, a very talented cook, but she was also an asymptomatic carrier of typhoid. After she infected,
Just a second. Sorry to interrupt. Children, this story is very, very important, and I think I have shared this story with everyone. She was a carrier of typhoid bacteria, Salmonella typhi. Yes, so I think you can skip this part because already this is done.
okay, ma'am, yes. When the Black Death ravaged Europe in the 14th century, learned men believed it was caused by an Italian earthquake or an alignment of the planets Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars. No one knew at that time that the disease was spread by rats and fleas. A leading French doctor warned that people could become infected simply by looking at someone who was sick. The word quarantine comes from the Italian word quarantina, meaning a period of 40 days. During the Black Death, the city of Venice required ships suspected of carrying disease to sit at an anchor for 40 days before they could land. And I had also told you that the Black Death led to the invention of quarantine. In the early years of the acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, also known as the AIDS epidemic, Canadian flight attendant Guyton Dugas was identified as patient zero, who brought the virus to North American cities in the 1970s and early 80s. But some believe that Dugas' role was exaggerated, and there is evidence that the virus was on this continent well before his travels. Tissue from a teenager who died in St. Louis in 1969 was preserved for study and was later found to contain the AIDS virus. Part 2 interesting facts continued. So
With
this
that, you can
1918.
skip, Arya. You can
Okay,
share
ma'am.
the presentation with others because it is 1:40. And
Yes, ma'am. I had created a short quiz of 5 questions, so you go through that.
very nice presentation. I was totally mesmerized with the way direct and appealing presentation. Very nice and effective visuals were there. And that made us realize that it's not only now the pandemic
Yes, ma'am, they
has
can occur
happened
later
100 years
also.
back also in India. 3 years it continued, but then things are temporary. It will go away just to practice all the good hygiene methods. Thank you so much for
Yes, ma'am.
presenting and taking up this beautiful topic.
Ma'am,
Yes.
can I present next class?
Who is this? No, it is Gargi's turn now. Okay, so quickly, children, in 10 minutes, we'll see Gargi's presentation. I'm going to share my screen. Gargi, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
The soil one, right?
No, ma'am, the metal one.
Metal one.
Because this project is quite big.
So, okay, what you can do is you can take up only 5 states for soil.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Where is that? Okay, I'm presenting it now.
Ma'am, should I start?
Yes, please start.
Yeah, so welcome to my project, and like I've done it on soil. So the soil is the uppermost layer of the earth, which is made of dust particles, rock particles, and etc. So it firmly fixes the plants, and it is a reservoir of food materials and water. So it helps plants to get oxygen and the spaces between the soil particles. So some places on earth like snow-covered mountains, rocky mountains and ice-covered land areas do not have soil like Arctic and Antarctic regions. So like different kinds of soil are found in different regions and different soil have different water holding capacity. Ma'am, you can move on to the next slide. So like soil are formed by weathering of parent rocks. So there are three kinds of weathering: physical, chemical and biological. So physical weathering is a degradation of rocks by physical agents like water, ice and wind. So chemical weathering is a chemical decomposition of rocks. So like biological weathering is decomposition of parent rocks by like microorganisms like bacteria. So process of soil formation, I will just explain it in a short. So soil is formed by weathering of rocks as I told you. So like when earthquakes are caused, so the earthquakes cause the different layers of rock and also the water that percolates in the rocks causes the rocks to break. So then extremely hot or cold weather also cause the rock to crack and then break. So then rivers, rains, winds and changes in weather also crack and break the rocks. Finally, the broken parts of rocks are further broken into particles of soil and then spread. And to form about 2.5 centimeter thick soil by these processes, it takes around 800 to 1000 years. Ma'am, you can go on to the next slide. So this is the soil profile. So as we had learned last year, so soil profile has 4 layers like A horizon, B horizon, C horizon, and the bedrock. And the bedrock is also called the D horizon or the R horizon. So like, ma'am, shall I skip this because we have learned this last year? Okay, so the constituents of soil. So the soil consists of both living and non-living matter. So the 5 constituents are.
So sorry, I just, it's okay. You can proceed with this.
Okay. So soil is classified on the basis of proportion of particles of various size. So like the first one is sandy soil. So it contains particles with diameter of 0.222 mm and it has very low water retention capacity. So cotton grows in sandy soil because it does not need water retention capacity. Ma'am, should I stop on this or shall I go ahead?
Yeah, just you can talk about Rajasthan and one more state we can take.
Okay, ma'am. So Rajasthan is a dry place and that is why water is not there too much. So crops grown on sandy soil can be easily found there. Even Punjab is the place where sandy soil is found. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. My God, you have made 41 slides for this. Herculean task you have done. And Gargi, that's really nice. You have taken up soil chapter that you have studied in 7th chapter. Great. Very happy to see you, children coming up now. They're like Shaunak also has sent his project. So really, I appreciate your work, all your efforts. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. If for the next class, now Ira also has made the project, very beautiful project. Shaunak also, Shrinjoy also made. So Shrinjoy has sent me the project very early. So Shrinjoy will be presenting in the next class. Okay.
Ma'am, can I am Dimple Patil.
Yes, Dimple, you did not present your project in the previous class.
No, ma'am, but it is very big, ma'am. It consists of 52 slides, so I need 15 minutes to present it.
Okay. So next class we'll start with you. Okay, Dimple?
Yes,
First,
ma'am.
you will be presenting, then Shrinjoy will be presenting. Yes, because you have sent me before Shrinjoy. Then Shrinjoy, then after Shrinjoy, I received Ira's mail also. Then Shaunak will be presenting. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
This is
Anyone else
Ojasvi.
who is left behind?
Ma'am, this is Ojasvi.
Uh, oh, so sorry. I did not
It's
remember.
okay, ma'am. It's okay, ma'am.
Okay. So, children, please try to sum up your project. I would love to see your projects in detail, but due to time constraint, what happens is becomes really difficult. Also, one more thing, those who have presented and those who are going to present their project, can you do me one favor? Can we, if you have some time, can you record your, because using this screen recording software, there are free screen recording software available, whatever you do on screen, and you can record with your voice also. So a small video is made, and then you can upload it in on YouTube channel, or you can share with anyone. Okay, because
Ma'am,
now
especially those binaries, one Shloka's one, ma'am. It was very beautiful.
very beautiful, yes, and all the projects, even epidemics also, like it really opens your eyes and you come to know um, about each and every the soil project also, you come to know about varieties of soil, so it opens different areas. Okay, children, I have please mark your attendance, then you can leave. Thank you so much.
Ma'am.
Okay, I wanted to ask one thing to all of you. Have you thought of something for Teachers Day?
Yes.
Teachers Day is coming up, and you can think of something innovative for your teachers. Okay. Now everything is virtual, so it has to be virtual only. Okay, any doubt? Means I have not taught, so how can doubt? Okay, children, bye for the day. And others, uh, when the others' presentation, you can learn many things from their presentation.
Ma'am,
Hmm?
Ma'am.
did you receive
Ma'am.
the project and the
Thank you, ma'am.
file?
Yes, Ria, I'm not, your voice is very feeble.
Ma'am, this is Anika. Ma'am,
Hmm?
this is Anika.
Have you
Ma'am, can
received
we
my
leave?
project?
Please leave, children. Those who have any doubts or they want to talk to me or they want to ask anything, please wait. Ria,
Why,
your
ma'am?
voice is very, very slow.
Ma'am.
Ma'am, this is Anika.
Yes, Anika.
Ma'am, have you received the edited file?
The edited file on
The template. The template with my project.
the topic, on the
Yeah,
topic.
yeah. You told me to write a bit more in the engage and that thing, so I
So when
increased
did
it
you
a bit.
send that? When did you send?
Ma'am, it's been some time.
Yes, yes, I received your. That one I have received. I thought after
Ma'am,
that.
can we leave?
No,
Yes.
you have told me to write a bit more in the engage and the implement section, so that's why I
Yes,
did that.
Anika. Yes, yes, I received it and very nicely written. Thank you. And even I have shared with Google also.
Okay.
Ma'am, this is Shaunak.
Ma'am.
Yes, Shaunak.
Ma'am, actually, we had planned, as you had told, I go to present the project when the whole 8th standard was together. So me and two boys from 8D had decided to present the project together. But unfortunately, we got separated due to the separation
Okay.
of
So
8th
don't
and
worry. Temporarily for the class, they can take permission from the other teacher and then they can present it. Okay.
yes, ma'am. But
And I can
then
add them. I can add them temporarily.
okay, ma'am. So I'll just ask them, and because then we planned we'll do separately all the projects. Like I'm doing separately, and then the both are doing separately. So is it fine if we combine together and again present it?
Yes, yes, you can do that.
Okay, ma'am. So I'll just tell them. Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a nice day.